And now we're moving to the next verse. And let me see which verse it is. We did... Huh? No, don't tell me the number. Oh, you tell me the number. 10:2. It's still the second chapter. So the first one is Tvayam Bhujaksha Shilak Satvadami. 10:2:30. For those of you keeping score at home, and we welcome everybody who's joined us online, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to cover 39 verses today. Count them. 39 verses. 29. All right. Oh, all right. 2:30? 10:2:30. Now this verse, you don't want to miss this. These are the featured verses in a book called Selected Verses from Śrīla Prabhupada because they're most frequently quoted. And this verse is related to Janmashtami. How is it related? Well, it's about Krishna. That's one thing. We played a game the other day and you had to make something up. Anyway, that's a long story. Today is the appearance day of Lord Krishna, and we find in this chapter the prayers by the demigods. So what transpired was that Bhumi, earth personified in the form of a cow, had gone to Brahma and said, there's an incredible burden on my surface. And we'll find Bhumi speaking elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the Bhumi Gita. Did anybody know there's a Bhumi Gita? There you can hear what Mother Earth has to say directly. She says, are these people crazy or what? Because what's happening is they're born, and just in terms of geological time, we're not here very long, are we? Have you ever heard of a Diwali germ? My spiritual master used to call them Diwali germs. Around Kartik time in Vrindavan, that's October, November, there are these little teeny bugs. They tend, at least the place I see them is around lights. From what I've understood, they're born around afternoon time, and then they develop fully and start to have offspring even in the dusk, and in the evening they're fully manifest. Go to Home Depot, do everything they got to do, Whole Foods, and they come back. And when I wake up for Mangalartik, which is it starts at 4:15 a.m. in the ashram there, they're dead. Sorry to surprise you like that. I know it's a family show, but they're dead. And they're scattered everywhere on the ground. But that's their life. And to Bhumi, who's just think in terms of geological time, how long is 75 or 81 years? Ladies, you get 81 years, we get 75. It's actuary charts. So how long is that? It's not very long. So she says, these people, they're born, they try to conquer the earth. They want to dominate a certain patch of earth and say, this is our place. They said, after they conquer, they're not satisfied. They want the water too. That's our water. And in New York City, now we have airspace. You know, you got to pay for that, right? You didn't know that? So Bhumi, she feels the burden of impious people on her surface. And at that time, if you read the history in the Mahabharata, you'll find there was an accumulation of demoniac people who were using the earth as a training grounds to continue the nefarious activities. And they were accumulating weaponry, and they were accumulating armies, and there was a great burden on the earth. So Bhumi went to Brahma and said, please, let's appeal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're the representative. Let's please go there. So Brahma, followed by his minions, the other devas, went to the shore of the Milk Ocean and made a prayer. Does anybody know the prayer that they made there at the shore of the Milk Ocean? Did Priya Kishori already leave? She came and went. I don't blame her. She has a young child. What was it? I'll give you a hint. It's the same two letters that you would use at the bottom of a letter if you ever wrote a letter. Yes. Purusha Sukta, 20 points. Purusha Sukta. Now, for 50 points, who knows the Purusha Sukta? It's a Vedic chant. Asra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrabat Sabhuming Vishwato Vritpat Atitishtat Changulam Purusha Edevam Gung Sarvam Yat Bhutam Yat Shabhavyam, etc. And they chanted this at the shore of the Milk Ocean. And then Brahma received a message from Krishna within his heart. And we find this also at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavad. Taini Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Bhuyanti Yatsurayaha. That Krishna informs Brahma from within the heart. Who else does he inform within the heart about spiritual knowledge? Just do this. Point to yourself real quick. Go ahead, point to yourself. You. He informs you too. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, and I quote, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam utvayanti tesham evanukam partam aham agyanajam tamaha nashyam yatma bhavasto jnana dipena bhashvata. Krishna says, I'm there for you. I'm there in your heart. And as soon as you sincerely want to know me, I'll light up a lamp so you can see your way. He gives this metaphor. It's so beautiful. So Brahma, he's the dear devotee of Krishna, and he's a representative for all the living entities in this world. He's like the samasti jiva. He comes out, and all the jivas are with him in the lotus stem. They get apportioned in the universe. And now Brahma is appealing on behalf of Bhumi, the earth, and saying that there's a mess here, and Krishna gives a message to Brahma's heart. And he says, I'm going to soon appear on earth. Yay! And I want you, all the demigods, to also appear here. This is a principle mentioned in the Bhagavatam called Tat Priyartam. It means when Krishna goes somewhere, he brings all his associates with him to help. So he arranges for millions and millions of other living entities to come assist him in his pastimes in this world. And Queen Kunti describes what that's like. She gives another metaphor. Maya javani kachanam agnad hoksajamavyayam dalakshise mudadrisha nato natyadaro yata. That is that Krishna, you're like an actor on a stage. We can't even understand who you are. You know, like one of your best friends. We heard the other day one of our friends was in a play, and we couldn't understand by looking that was actually our friend because of the costume. So Krishna comes in various ways to show himself in this world. But Kunti, his pure devotee, says, you're just like an actor on a stage. You perform these pastimes just like when we're going to see a play. So Krishna comes with a supporting cast, and they all take birth around before and around where Krishna is going to perform his pastimes so that they can participate in this big play called Krishna Lila to present to the world. And the demigods, understanding what's taking place, after all, they had something to do with it. Do you remember the first part of the Srimad Bhagavatam and how Devaki and Vasudeva had just been married? Anybody here recently married? Anybody married at all? Did you have a wedding? Well, you can imagine how horrific this might have been. Devaki and Vasudeva were coming home on their wedding day, and Devaki's brother was helping her out by driving the chariot, and there was a prophecy coming from the sky. No one could tell where it came from, but it was the Devas. They were helping in this Leela, this unfolding event of Krishna appearing on earth. So they said to Kamsa as he was driving the chariot, they said, Kamsa, you fool! don't you know that the 8th issue from your sister is going to kill you? And Kamsa reacted like any demoniac person does when he hears some of his interests are being compromised. He stopped the chariot immediately, grabbed the hair of his sister, pulled out his sword, and he was about to decapitate her because he thought, let's just stop it right here. But Vasudeva, the wife of Devaki, appealed to him and told him about Atma-tattva Gyan. And said, no, you don't understand. There's karma for doing things like this. And don't you know we're moving from one body to another and there's destiny and everything's unfolding. Didn't have any effect on Kamsa. So then he appealed to the fact that this will not be good for your reputation. And that affected him a little bit, but not enough. And then Vasudeva said, I'll give you any children born to me. And he believed Vasudeva because Vasudeva was avowedly truthful. And if you remember, they were on their way home and that voice came, that was the devas. Now, here we have the devas have come to the home. Well, it's not exactly a home. Vasudeva and Devaki were imprisoned. You know that. Kamsa became so fearful that he put them in prison. And when Devaki was pregnant with Krishna, they came there and they offered their prayers to Krishna in the womb. And that's what's happening in this chapter, prayers by the demigods. These are beautiful and highly informative prayers. So there's 4 of them that we're going to read, not right now, but throughout the day, that are from the devas. Would you like to hear one of them now? Okay. You have a certain amount of patience, and let's see if you can spend some of it on this. So here's the verse. It's 10:2:30. I'll say, and then you, if you wish, please repeat. Tvayam buchaksha kila satvadamni samadhina veshita chetasaike tvatpada potena Mahāt kṛtena kurvanti govatsapadam bhavabdim. And now I'll read the words, the word meanings. Tvayi. I'll say, then you repeat. Okay? Here we go. Tvayi. In you. Ambuja Aksha. O lotus-eyed Lord. Akila Sattvadamni. Who are the original cause of all existence. From whom everything emanates, and in whom all potencies reside. Samadhina, by constant meditation and complete absorption in thoughts of you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aveshita, fully absorbed, fully engaged. Cetasa. But by such a mentality, Eke, the one process of always thinking of your lotus feet, Tvatpada potena, by boarding such a boat as your lotus feet, Mahāt kṛtena, by that action which is considered the most powerful original existence, or which is executed by Mahajanas. Kurvanti, they make. Govatsa, Govatsapadam, like the hoofprint of a calf. Bhava Abdim, the great ocean of nescience. Translation. O lotus-eyed Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are the reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as the boat by which to cross the ocean of nescience, one follows in the footsteps of Mahājans, great saints and sages and devotees. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nescience as easily as one steps over the hoofprint of a calf. Would you like to hear the purport? I'm amazed. You're such good hearers. This is really nice. Thank you. Here goes. The true mission of life is to cross the ocean of nescience, of repeated birth and death. Those in the darkness of ignorance, however, do not know this mission. Instead, being carried away by the waves of material nature, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha, they are undergoing the tribulations of mrityu sangsara vartamani, repeated birth and death. But persons who have achieved knowledge by the association of devotees follow the Mahājans, Mahāt kṛtena. Such a person always concentrates his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord and executes one or more of the 9 varieties of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam. Simply by this process, one can cross the insurmountable ocean of nations. Simply by what process? What's the simple one process by which one could cross the ocean of nations? Hare Krishna. That's a universal answer. Following 9 processes, but even more succinctly, what's it saying here? Yes, by concentrating your mind where? On scrolling? Scrolling. You can attain perfection by scrolling. True, right? No? On what? On the lotus feet of Krishna. If you just meditate on Krishna, then everything else is taken care of. Why is that? In other words, if you meditate on Krishna, who has an answer for this? If you meditate on Krishna, how is it that you're able to have not only a highly functional life, but an abundant life if you meditate on Krishna? And I'm not talking about giving up your work. I'm talking about what we discussed earlier. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tasmat Gurum, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mama Nusmari Ujyacha. He says you should always remember me even while you're doing your work. So what is it about meditating on Krishna that's so effective in our lives? Who has an answer? Who would like to hold forth? Yes. We have some pundits in here. Sutra Malika, go ahead.
So by meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord or thinking of Krishna while you're doing your work, living your life, you actually dedicate the results of the action. You take away the results of the action from you. So therefore, Krishna makes it perfect. All of it, everything comes to you. Whatever you need comes to you, and so that you can more focus on Krishna.
Okay, I'll only accept it if you quote a verse.
It's hard to come with right
now. No, go ahead. Keep the mic.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a verse right now. You have to know what I'm thinking. A Vulcan mind meld. Bhagavad Gita. I'm thinking Bhagavad Gita. It starts with an A.
No.
It indicates that if you fully absorb your mind in thinking of Krishna, then He does what for you? Carries what you lack and preserves what you have. Doesn't that match with what you're saying somewhat?
Yes.
Besides the part about removing any karma. What's the verse? Who's got it? There he is. We got another pundit over here. Give him the mic.
Ananya Shintayanto Ma Mejana Pariyupasate Tesham Nityabhiktan Tesham Nityabhiktanam Yogakshemam Mahamyam.
Very nice. What are you reading your Bhagavad Gita regularly or what? What's your story? Go ahead and tell us. Oh, you got a bead bag too.
I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for more than 10 years, Prabhu.
For how long?
10 years.
That's a lot. But you're also reading the Bhagavad Gita, right?
I do.
You have it right on the tip of your brain?
No, only a few verses, Maharaj.
That's a really important verse, don't you think?
Yes.
So that goes along, right? Sutra? Ananya shintayanto mam yejana paripasate tesham nityabdiyuktanam yoga kshema mahamyaham. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you give your full attention to me, don't worry about it. I'll take care of everything. In fact, we were reading in one of Prabhupada's purports, they said, if you're so absorbed in Krishna service you don't have time to take care of yourself, then Krishna will take care of you. Do you want to add something? Yes, go ahead.
You were thinking of the other verse where...
No, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Carry what they lack, preserve what they have. But what other verse did you think I was thinking of?
No, I'm just blanking out for some reason. But I remember the verse. It's just basically saying that I'll preserve what you have.
That's it. Ananyas chintayanta. Ananyas means with no other consideration, you're just doing my work, thinking of me, right? Then I give you personally. Vahami is something very special. It means that I'll deliver with my own hands. I'll take care of you. So that's an important principle, isn't it? And so we have one more paragraph followed by a few more. Devotional service is powerful in any form. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshita Bhavad Vaisesika kṛtena. According to this verse, Maharaj Parikshit became liberated by fully concentrating his mind on hearing the Lord's holy name, attributes, and pastimes. Similarly, Śrī Gosvāmī simply glorified the Lord, and by speaking on the subject matters of Krishna consciousness that constitute the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. He too was liberated. One may also be liberated simply by sakya, friendly behavior with the Lord. Such is the power of devotional service, as we learn from the examples set by the Lord's many pure devotees. We're counting down the minutes right now. There's 9 minutes until we have the noon artik. That means we have a few more minutes. We should get warmed up, don't you think, for the artik? So let's sing a bhajan between now and then, and we'll see if Shanavi wants to lead the noon artik. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, as is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, to keep the transcendental vibration going in one's life, because at every moment that we're enveloped by a different energy which obscures our vision of who we are and what the purpose of life is. But immediately upon chanting the divine names of Krishna, or hearing from Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, we awaken to our true mission in life. What's more, we feel directly, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vijaya Raja Kuhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartamabhyam. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, this is the king of all knowledge. But at the same time, it's the most secret of all secrets, because people are preoccupied with their lives and they can pass one day easily not thinking of God. And if they can do one day, they can possibly squeeze out 2. And if they can do 2, they can maybe make it through a whole week. If you can do a week, you can do a month. If you do a month, you can do a year. Maybe a decade. Never think once about our best friend and well-wisher in the heart. We may even feel lost or fearful forgetting that everything in this universe is perfectly in order. Even if we don't feel ordered in our lives, it doesn't mean the universe isn't ordered. And if we can go a decade, we can go a lifetime. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ayor harati vaipumsam, that the sun is rising and setting, and while it's passing over our heads, it's speaking to us, saying, I'm taking away your ayu. Everyone's born, according to Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutras, with a lifespan. It's written. And every moment that we spend, says the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, we're making an investment in our heart. This is a very serious lifetime we're in, says the Bhagavatam, Labbam sudurlabhamidam bahusam bhavante, manusham artanam nityam apihadira. Even though it's temporary, even though you have an ayu, beginning and an end. The poet Shelley only lived to 28 years old. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu is 44 years old, 48 years old. It's not the length. Nowadays there's a great movement to not die. There's a book, Don't Die. It's all about how to keep your body going as long as possible. But the Bhagavatam says, the main point is to remember God. And it's not that hard. Because pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm directly available. It's not that you have to go away somewhere. Tadejiti tanaijiti tadure tadmantike. The Upanishads say the Lord is far away, but He's very near as well. And for those who chant His name, He's immediately available. People who are thirsty might ask somebody, please give me water, and they say, there's a cloud, help yourself. Or someone else might say, flash floods come through here sometimes, you can wait. Or dig a well, you can get a glass of water out of a well. So there are many different processes for understanding God, and some of them seem extremely difficult. God's in heaven. Well, how do I find heaven? God's in your heart. How will I see Him? The avatars come, just like a flash flood. How will we know when to be there? But if you chant Hare Krishna, it's like water in the palm of your hand. At any time, you can drink. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. It's directly available. So Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu came to reveal the meaning of Bhagavad Gita over 500 years ago. Many people, even now, have the Bhagavad Gita, but it sits on the shelf. They forget that Krishna is speaking directly to us through the Bhagavad Gita. But even for them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no problem. One simple process. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau nasteva 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 gatiranyata. Just chant the names of God. And then you have direct access. And from the chanting process, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yarahaitukam. Knowledge, perspective about what's right and what's wrong, everything that gives us fortitude in this world comes into our heart by chanting Hare Krishna. So this movement started by Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and now represented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his faithful followers is all over the world, every continent. I notice wherever I go that people are the same. They just want to be happy. And they're the same struggles. I was telling the students out there an hour or so ago who just arrived here and like to stay connected to this center because they just came from India and they feel a little bit homesick. first time I went to Japan, I thought it was so exotic there and so different. Probably it'll be like a paradise and maybe no birth, death, old age, and disease. It's far enough off the grid that maybe it doesn't apply there. And the first time I was flying in, I had been sleeping and I woke up just in time to look out the window of the plane, and I could see tiny cars. And then as we got closer to the airport, there was an overpass over a freeway, and I saw 2 ambulances. Do you say ambuli? Crossing the overpass, and they had their lights going. I couldn't hear them, but I knew that they were going somewhere because of a dire situation, and I thought, everything here in this world, from top to bottom, is fraught with the same difficulties for everyone, whether you're a squirrel or a snail or a human being, whether you have a PhD or you're a humble laborer somewhere. Everyone has the same problem. And there's only one solution, and that is to chant God's names. Because the problem is that when we leave this world, we think of everything but God. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Antakali chamameva smaran mukva kalevaram ya priyati samadbhavam yati nasyata shamshayaha. If you can practice in this lifetime, this very short lifetime, practice thinking of God, reawakening your emotion for God. After all, He's our well-wisher and so kind and beautiful. Then he says, at the time when you leave this body, there's no doubt that you'll transcend this dark material world. And then he says, Yang yang vapi smaran bhavam tajatante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever you think of, you'll go there. So we have a grave responsibility in this lifetime. It's a serious lifetime. We have a little bit of time to train our subtle bodies on the name, form, pastimes of God, so that when we leave this world, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, as you know, since we've been here this morning, is waiting to die. 7 days. He has 7 days to live. And how many do we have? 7. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. One of those days we'll leave and we'll say, oh, what a big surprise. Why is it a surprise? And if we're able to, during this lifetime, train our minds to think of Krishna, then it's possible when we leave this world, we'll remember him also. So, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu gave this universal process, and there are acharyas, leading teachers of this process, who have made it convenient for all of us. So we owe a great debt of gratitude to them. And one of the greatest gifts that they've bequeathed to us are these literatures. These are sacred literatures. We can't take them for granted just because there's high-speed printing. It's easy to keep books around. If we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam and chant Hare Krishna, even a little bit every day, then everything will become clear, and we'll feel Krishna's presence in our life. And now I'm going to finish the purport that I started. You go to Vrindavan during Kartik. You can walk around to different temples. If you can fit in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, you can try to do that too. It's so popular. But for years, I'd always visit the Radharamara temple during Kartik. There's a little courtyard, and all evening long they'd have bhajan and then a little prachar. There was one sadhu there that I liked very much, even though I didn't know what he was saying. He looked so cool. He had this hat. He always wore the hat. And he'd sit there and people were so sincerely listening. And I thought, this is life. To be surrounded by transcendental sound. To take time to sit together and listen to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and to chant Hare Krishna and then see the deities. As the Bhagavatam itself says, Pibhantam Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. It's a drink. And when you drink it, you'll feel intoxicated spiritually. You might even faint because it's ambrosia. And it says, after you faint from drinking this immortal liquid, he said, what should you do? Get up and drink some more. That's Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. There's no end to it. And so today we have a goal to finish 29 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the verses our founder Acharya Śrīla Prabhupada quoted most frequently from the 10th canto. And so far, we started at 4:30 a.m. and we've done 3. So I'll try to restrain myself. We're right in mid-purport of 10 to 30. For those of you who are keeping score, I'm taking up on the 3rd paragraph. Ready? Okay, one person said, yeah. Everyone else, you're conserving your strength. Here the Lord is described as ambujaksha or lotus-eyed. By seeing the eyes of the Lord, which are compared to lotus flowers, one becomes so satisfied that one does not want to turn his eyes to anything else. Simply by seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, a devotee is at once fully absorbed in the Lord in his heart. This absorption is called samadhi. Dhyanavastita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. A yogi is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he has no other business than to think of the Lord always within the heart. It is also said, and if you know this verse, you can sing along with me. Except for you're, as they say, we're not on the same page, literally. Samashritaye padapallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho marare bhavambudir vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the demon Mura, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. His goal is Parampadam, or Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. This process is recommended here by authorities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Swayam Bhura Narada Shambhu. And therefore we must take to this process in order to transcend nescience. This is very easy, but we must follow in the footsteps of great personalities, and then success will be possible. In regard to the word Mahāt kṛtena, it is also significant that the process shown by great devotees is not only for them, but also for others. If things are made easy, this affords facility for the person who has made them easy, and also for others who follow the same principles. The process recommended in this verse for crossing the ocean of nescience is easy not only for the devotee, but also for common persons who follow the devotee. Mahajano yena katasapanta. In this verse, and many others, the principle of following is recommended. For instance, in the 1st canto, 2nd chapter of the Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says, Bejare Muniyo Tagre Bhagavantam Adhoksajam Sattvam Vishudham Shemaya Kalpante Yenutaniha, means that in this world, if you live in this world, you may be qualified for something much more exalted, even though you live here. And maybe you're not a great sage. Maybe you are just hanging on for dear life. But the verse says that previously, Agre, great sages, would worship Lord Vishnu because they could understand, due to their great wisdom and learning, that he was the topmost. And he's above the three modes of material nature. Bejare Muneo Tagre Bhagavantam Adhoksajam. He's known as Adhoksaja. Practically, no one can understand him. Even using the alphabet, pa-pa-pa-ma-ma, ka-ka-ka, ka-ka-ka-ka-na, cha-cha-cha-cha-na, all the way through, if you use all the syllables, you won't be able to describe him perfectly. But he does reveal himself. Bejare Muneo Tagre Bhagavantam Adhoksadam Sattvam Vishudam Shemaya. If one simply tries to follow the footsteps, the same process that were given by the great souls. Again, one may not be a great soul. One may be embroiled in mundane activities. But if one does one's best to follow in the footsteps of the great sages, then kalpante ye nutaniha. Even if you live in this world, even if you're not a great sage, kalpante means that you're still eligible. Count it. You can also achieve the exact same result they did, even if you're not at the same standard, because you followed in their footsteps. This verse that we just read is highly significant in that way. Is a recap for the verse itself. It says, Tvayam bujaksha kila satvadamni samadhina veshit chetasaike tvatpada potena Mahāt kṛtena kurvantiko vatsapadam bhavabdim. And that is, according to the demigods praying to Lord Krishna within the womb, the sole purpose of life and the ultimate goal of life can be attained by having one point attention on Krishna. Because he is the source of everything. Then it says, Tvatpada potena Mahāt kṛtena. Mahāt means those who are great souls. They're perfectly situated. And kṛtena, they devise a method to live in this world and at the same time practice spiritual life. They do it for themselves, but they also leave behind them the process so that everyone can take it up. For instance, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appeared 500 years ago, and he had many disciples. They listened to everything Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu said, and then they codified it. They wrote it down in books like Śrī Upadeśāmṛta, which is a primer for Bhakti Yoga, written by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī. I was in the San Francisco airport some time back. The airport had given me a space to distribute books from. And one of the books I had in ample quantity was the Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. So I used to distribute it a lot at the airport. It was in Terminal 2. That used to be the international terminal at San Francisco Airport. Any airport in America, I'll tell you anything about it. I grew up in one. And they gave us what used to be an insurance counter. It was a round, actually octagonal booth. They used to sell flight insurance there, but then they got a machine that replaced the people who worked there. So they gave us the booth and said, you would like to sell your books, you can use this booth. So I used to stand behind that booth and people would come over asking for directions. I give them direction to their flight and then I give them direction to the spiritual world. And I particularly remember one day I met a young man from Taiwan, student that has finished his education here. He's on his way home. And I told him about the Upadeśāmṛta and how it was written 500 years ago by a great saint named Rupa Gosvāmī. I said, there's instructions here for life, how you can make spiritual progress. He said, oh, very nice, I like it. He offered a donation so we could print more books. He opened his carry-on bag, had a zipper on top. He put the book in, and he zipped it closed. I watched him as he walked towards his gate, and I was thinking, I wonder if Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī envisioned this 500 years ago, that there would be airports, or that this young man from Taiwan, so far from Bharatvarsha, would somehow meet another young man, I was young at that time, from California. And we'd have an interaction where I'd give him a book written 500 years ago by a saint named Rupa Gosvāmī, who wrote the book in Vrindavan at a place called Kadamba. And he would take it home to Taiwan and read those instructions. The Srimad Bhagavatam says, doesn't matter where you're from. Kiratahu nandra pulinda pulkasha abhira shumba yavana kasadaya. Yene chapapaya tapashraya shreya shudyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. Shukadeva Goswami says, this is for everybody. He names people from all over the world who are outside Bharatvarsha. Hirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha. All these are names of people who have never heard of Varnashram or Sanatan Dharma, nothing. They probably have really interesting habits. But he says every single one of them, and he names them, they can come to the highest position by following in the footsteps of the great souls. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam here is recommending Mahāt kṛtena. Follow the great people. Find out from Srimad Bhagavatam who are the acharyas, the ones who are setting the pace. And then find the process that they left behind. And this is the mercy of the great teachers. They always leave something behind for the populace because they're para dukkha dukhi. That means they suffer because of seeing other people suffer, so they leave behind them a process that anybody could follow. So that's what we're doing here, is taking the process that was left for us and very clearly enunciated by our founder Acharya through his speeches, but most particularly through his literature that he painstakingly left behind. And in the next verse that I'm going to start, but not without a song, we're hearing more from the demigods praying to Lord Krishna within the womb. And the next verse, which I'm not going to take the time to look up because somebody else can look it up, says, Yene ravindakshava muktamaninas tvayastabhavada vashuddha buddhaya aruya krishena parampadam tata patantyato nadrita yushmarangraya, which means that whatever way you think you can liberate yourself in this world, including plumping up your 401k to such a point that you can retire and not have to work anymore. That's a kind of liberation. Or if you become some kind of a detached person. I once saw a person in Vrindavan. He was practicing Jata Yoga. And he would lie in the street where the cars were coming. People would come and move him, and then he'd move back onto the street, just to show his detachment from the world. There are myriad ways in which people try to detach themselves from this world. That's why it says in this verse, Aruya kṛtena. Kṛtena means going to great lengths, working very hard to try to liberate oneself from the bodily platform of life. Come to the Brahman platform. But Yene aravindaksha vamuktamaninas. if it doesn't include falling in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's very specifically mentioned here that Arimandaksha means he has lotus eyes, means with the personality of Godhead. Unless you develop love for the personality of Godhead, then all other forms of so-called liberation are avashuddha buddhaya. They're due to having an impure intelligence. You didn't get it right, says the Bhagavatam. So there's one admonition in this verse, which is bhakti. Learn how to follow the footsteps of the great souls and develop an emotion for God, not artificially, but naturally, step by step, by engaging in the processes left behind by the great souls. And once you have that attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then your life becomes more and more perfect. Why do I say that? Because there's perfect, more perfect than most perfect. And one can achieve ever increasing levels of perfection by the process of devotional service. What is the verse number? Correct. Okay, that's 10 to 32. But as you know, we made a new rule earlier. We can't start the next verse without a song. Are you ready? Yes. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. That's the thing. Sounds useless without it. It's not really good. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Mahimam. Ready for one more round? Krishna, 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 hey. No stop. Too fast. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. One more time. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. 3, 2, 1.